with embarking on such a mission, but they chose to do it anyway because it's a humanitarian crisis that we are watching at the moment. So this week, activists, humanitarians, and people of conscience from all over the world converge on Egypt as part of the Sumud convoy at the March of Gaza, calling for an end to the collective punishment of an entire population. But instead of being welcomed, many have been met with intimidation, arrest, and deportation. French, Tunisian, Algerian, and Moroccan nationals have reportedly been denied or entry or even often detained at Cairo airport and had their passports seized. And some have even gone missing after Egyptian authorities stormed hotels which were housing peaceful protesters. Well, joining me now by stream Khalid Vawda. He has worked Palestinian charities in both South Africa and in the UK. He's also one of the founding members of the Social Intifada, which focuses on front foot activism that is unapologetic and within the boundaries of Quran and Sunnah by using digital and social media to raise awareness, spark conversations, and initiate activism as well. Brother Khalid, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome to Radio Al Ansar.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Jazakallah khair for having me.
How are you doing this evening, brother?
Cold. Johannesburg is cold, but alhamdulillah, all good.
Wonderful. Great to have you on. So, looking at what we're seeing happening right now, we know that people are frustrated. We feel that, civil society feels that the governments have let us down. We need to do something about it. And we see people doing something about it as well. So, what can you tell us about the recent reports of activists that are being detained or even deported in Egypt? Who is being targeted and what's the reason for this?
So there's a number of activists that have been sent back. I just before coming on air, I was sent a video of a number of Algerians being escorted onto their plane with military either side of them and being sent back home. So Algerians, Tunisians, Moroccans, French citizens as well. Last report I saw earlier today was more than 140 have been sent back home, have been deported. So this is Egypt's response to obviously everybody converging on Egypt this week by way of the Sumud convoy, which started off in Tunisia, Algeria, and it's making its way across to Egypt. Then you've got people gathering for the global march to Gaza, which takes place from tomorrow until Sunday. This is obviously following on the heels of the flotilla recently that was intercepted and everybody was taken hostage by Israel. So there's a lot of activity expected in Egypt, and Egyptian authorities, we know the position of Egypt. It has been quite consistent over the years. They are on the payroll of the United States. They receive the second largest amount of aid after Israel on an annual basis. So they are there to protect Israel's border. And the Egyptians have always spoken out of the Egyptian authorities, I must be very clear, because we make a distinction between the Egyptian regime and the people in Egypt. The Egyptian regime speaks out of both sides of their mouth. On the one side, they talk about support for Palestine. And on the other side, they're making deals with Israel and America to ensure that the resistance doesn't exist in Palestine anymore. But people have been fed up. Ordinary people are fed up. Lawyers, doctors, teachers, ordinary civil servants. The ordinary population has had enough. And that's why you've got all of these people converging on Egypt this week.
Absolutely. So how are the authorities justifying, the Egyptian authorities, justifying these actions against these international activists that are basically coming there for a purpose, and it's to end the humanitarian crisis or to ease the humanitarian crisis that our brothers are feeling in Gaza right now? So how are they responding to it?
The flimsiest of excuses, administrative. People don't have the relevant documentation, the relevant permits to be able to travel. And that's the reason why some of them are being sent home. The others are being sent home without any explanation. People have had, there was a group of about 40 to 60 Algerians and Tunisians who had flown into Cairo airport yesterday. They were held for just over 24 hours. Their mobile devices were taken away. Their passports were taken away. They were given no explanation. And then the next thing was they were then sent to the airport and then sent away. So people, in addition to the gathering for the global march, and in addition to the convoy, which is actually by road, they're traveling in. The last report we got was they were in Libya. So the main bulk of that convoy is yet to hit Egypt. A lot of people have been flying into Egypt to join up with both of these when they converge. They've been coming in on their own, wherever they're from. The last report from the organizers of the march was that there were people from around 70 or 80 countries who are joining up with the march. I know from South Africa, the official number we had was just over 50, but there's obviously a lot of people who will be going, who left it late, who didn't go as part of the official group, so that their paperwork could get cleared in time. But again, it's just, I mean, in all of this deportations that were taking place, one of the Moroccan families that were deported said that they were actually there to visit family members. They weren't there for a protest or a march. They actually came to see family members in Egypt, but they were being sent back.
And how many activists from around the world in total were expected to be part of this program?
With the Global March to Gaza group, more than 1,000. The Sumud convoy has about 10,000 people that have joined up in there. That's buses, that's cars, that's just, it's been so, Seraj, it's been so amazing to watch this convoy as it's been making stops along the way. And for anybody who might feel despondent, any Muslim who might feel despondent that there is no khair left in the ummah, you need to look at these videos, and you need to look at the level of brotherhood and sisterhood that's coming out of everybody here. People are literally stopping cars and they're putting food inside the cars for the people. They're giving them water. There was one filling station in Libya which didn't charge people for fuel in order to refuel and to move on. There was such a heartwarming story. It'll go up on our socials later today. There was an old man who was extremely sad, and he was drawn to tears because he couldn't do anything further than what he had. And he gave off a straw hat to the convoy. And he said, I can't give you anything else. Please take this hat and give it to somebody in Gaza. There's so much khair in this ummah. Wallahi, if we feel despondent, it's one of two things, or it's a combination of two things. One is shaitan is getting the edge over us, and two is the enemies of Islam want us to feel despondent by the negativity that they keep on pushing out through mainstream media. So we need to be alert to these things.
Despondency is like a moral defeat, a psychological defeat. If you want to accept defeat, it'll be easy for them to just annihilate you. So the fact that, and I've seen images like this, when the convoy departing from Tunisia, what an amazing scene, as they're leaving and setting, taking on this great journey, which they don't know how it's going to end, but just believing that we have a cause and we need to go and we need to do this as much as we can, alhamdulillah. So that is amazing. But of course, it all boils down to Egypt. I mean, that's the country that borders Gaza. So how are these actions by the Egyptians going to impact the broader humanitarian effort at the Rafah border?
Egypt is under massive pressure. The Egyptian regime, again, are under massive pressure. We had staged a demonstration, and we'd written a memorandum to the Egyptian authorities about just over a month ago here in Pretoria, making demands for them to open the crossing at Rafah for the 3,000 trucks that were stranded at the border carrying food, medicine, and aid to get into Gaza. That fell on deaf ears. We expected it to, but we needed to initiate this, and then there were similar actions worldwide as well. People realized that the main artery into Gaza, the main lifeline into Gaza is Rafah, because all goods enter through Rafah. People need to leave Gaza for severe medical treatment. They do that via Rafah. So Rafah is controlled by Egypt, and to a degree, Israel on the other side. But Egypt, despite what they want to tell the world, they have full control over the Rafah border. If they want to, they will let people in. The thing is, Egypt is under instruction from Israel. You would have seen yesterday, it was broadcast all over mainstream media, the Israeli minister urged Egypt not to let these protesters anywhere near Rafah.
All right.
So Egypt is being the obedient guard dog that they are, and they're looking after their master's property. So they're fulfilling their responsibility in that regard, the Egyptian regime. The problem Egypt has, the problem Sisi and his government have, is that the people are not going to hold back for too much longer. There's a lot of Muslim political commentators who've been alluding to this. And if you just take a step back and look at events in that area and then broader in the Middle East, it's a matter of time before their fears of another Arab Spring, but an even more stronger and even more fiery version of an Arab Spring erupts, because nobody in the Muslim world is going to keep sitting by watching our kids being shredded to bits in Gaza, watching our mothers being ill-treated, watching our sisters being dishonored, watching our brothers being blown up and having to scavenge for food and being shot at while they're going to collect food. This is coming to a head. And because the governments have failed, because the Muslim governments in particular are not worth the paper their names are printed on. I mean, I wouldn't give them authority over looking after my backyard. You know, they're that irresponsible. So it's up to the people now to step up. And the other heartwarming aspect here is the amount of non-Muslims who have stood up for the cause. They've people who have left their businesses behind. They've left their children behind. You're probably familiar with the members of the flotilla. So one of them is Tiago from Brazil. He has been dedicated to a number of the flotillas before. This is the fourth attempt by him. He left his 7-month-old baby and his wife in Brazil in order to join this flotilla. And then after he was taken hostage by the Israelis, he went on a hunger strike and he went on a water strike. So this is the level of dedication that people have, because nobody wants to see injustice. Irrespective of whether you're Muslim or not, it doesn't work alongside your fitrah. Nobody wants to see kids being massacred and people being driven to starvation actively. This is an active policy by the Zionist entity, these thugs that run the Israeli so-called country.
Absolutely. So the people are mobilizing, and it's about time as well, because as you mentioned, it's this level of oppression. It's gone to an extreme now, and people are feeling the frustration. So what support, do you need right now from civil society, from media, and the global community at large?
I think primary and of major importance is everybody needs to put pressure on the Egyptian authorities. We need to call in, we need to stage protests, we need to make sure their phones keep ringing off the hook, we need to inundate them with emails, we need to let them know exactly how unhappy we are at this, about the amount of people that are being deported. And they're all there on a humanitarian purpose. Nobody there is going to lift a finger in terms of any violence. Absolutely nobody. Everybody's agreed to that. So the fact that Egypt are deporting people without valid reason, despite them having visas to travel to Egypt, is a sad indictment on Egypt. So that's the number one action that everybody can do, wherever we are in the country. Everybody watching the show and everybody listening in on radio, everybody has the means to contact the Egyptian embassy. Do not take no for an answer. Make sure they know exactly how you feel and keep flooding them with emails, letters. Whoever can mobilize in Pretoria, mobilize and get active outside the Egyptian embassy. That's number one. Number two is please keep an eye on your socials. Please keep an eye on the news. I would urge people to cancel leisure events over the next 4 days. I know the weekend's coming up and people want to relax. It's a small sacrifice that we all can make. It's a very small sacrifice. Skip the leisure activities this weekend. Instead, focus on amplifying what's going on there. Everybody has contacts and everybody is following somebody else on social media. Keep on making a noise. Let's break the internet this weekend. Let's break the internet with all the messaging coming out from channels like the official Global March to Gaza, the number of channels that are telling us about the Sumud convoy. Locally, you've got PSA, you've got Social Intifada, you've got Palestine Solidarity Committee, many of the other organizations. Follow on the socials, keep amplifying the news, and make sure this doesn't die off in the discussions anywhere this weekend. That's the very, very least we can do if we couldn't be there ourselves.
Absolutely, brother Khalid. This is a very momentous occasion. So let's talk about why it's critical, for the world not to turn away from Gaza, and also from the activists that are risking their freedom to stand, in solidarity with the people of Gaza. Why is this such a momentous occasion right now?
The last year and a half, Brother Siraj, Gaza and Palestine has shown us that they are the last door between any semblance of humanity and all hell breaking loose on earth. Complete barbarity, the law of the jungle. We've got a few powerful nations who have deemed themselves, they are law unto themselves. They do as and what they please. So there's there's complete disregard for any form of international law. So the concept of international law, which was set up by Western nations post World War II, in order to regulate themselves when they tear at each other's throats like savages at the previous wars, and we've seen the carnage they're able to exact and carry out. They've gone against what they've set out. If this was any other European nation or Western nation, if one child was killed, they would have stopped the world. Our lives do not matter. Brown lives do not matter. Muslim lives do not matter to them. The only reason Western leaders are starting to speak out now is not because of care of the Palestinian people. It's because their own people on their streets are rising up. And politically, it's going to be expensive for them to maintain this position in support of a genocidal, barbaric, savage regime that we have in Israel. It's going to be very costly to their political careers. So Palestine and Gaza is the last door between humanity and all hell breaking loose on earth. And people need to realize that there is no area that these people will not get to. If that door is broken, and Allah knows what strength He has placed inside of the people of Palestine, it's something that you and I would not be able to do, which is why we've not been chosen for this task by Allah. But they are small children. They are our sisters who've been chosen for this task, and Allah knows, may He reward them with the highest stages in Jannah for the sacrifices that I could not even begin to imagine that they're putting up with and they're dealing with. Burying your loved ones every day. If you find their body parts, everything you have has been decimated. You don't have a home. Your property, your belongings are all gone. You've been displaced. Some people have been displaced up to 15 times in the last year and a half. 15 times, from tent to tent to tent to area, and being shot at. And despite that, I was listening to an interview by Abu Bakr Abed. He's a Palestinian journalist from Gaza, young man, absolutely brilliant young man. He did an interview because he has since moved to Ireland, where he's based, and he was asked about what it is about the people of Gaza. And how they withstand this. And he explained something which, at my age, I'm probably double his age, it's something that made me pause and think. The people of Palestine realize that everything that they have belongs to Allah. Everything that they have belongs to Allah. So whatever is taken back, is taken away from them, is something that Allah has taken back. It is all Allah's belongings. You cannot, if we just pause and reflect on that for a moment, that would drive you not to be attached to anything. That would help center you and focus you in terms of your iman and your relationship with Allah, because far too often we become attached to anything and everyone around us, and it becomes hard to let go of. But yet they are teaching us this. So with Allah centered in our lives, are we ready for that type of examination? How much are we prepared to sacrifice for Allah? Because like Allah's messenger told us in many narrations, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and as is told to us in the Quran, Jannah has a price. It's not going to come free of charge. And currently there's a highway from Gaza. There's a highway to Jannah. There's a highway of martyrs. There's a caravan of martyrs that's just going regularly. Allah knows who He's taking and for whatever reason. But as we know, the test that the people of Palestine are undergoing outside of Palestine, us who are all outside of Palestine, I believe that the test for all of us is much, much larger. And then the question remains, how are we going to stand before Allah with this test?
So, Brother Khalid, inshallah, hopefully this weekend we will make it a weekend of activism, as you mentioned. Put the leisure events aside. Let's focus on this genocide, which has been unfolding for far too long. I think that's going to be our message for this evening.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, it's a weekend of sacrifice. We've just come off our major sacrifice, the pillar of our deen, Eid al-Adha. But this is something very small that we can do, considering the sacrifices of everyone in Palestine and the sacrifices of all the people who've made the journey to Egypt for this week.
Inshallah, we really do hope that we can get some good news on that front as well. Inshallah, Brother Khalid, shukran. Thank you so much for your time and chatting to us on Al-Ansar this evening.
It's an absolute pleasure. Jazakallah khair for having us.
Shukran. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
That was Brother Khalid Vawda, of course, very passionately working on the Palestinian cause with charities both locally and abroad, as well as a founding member of the Social Intifada, as you just heard right there. There's so much happening. The time is now, and it's left up to us to make that concerted effort to try and stop this carnage, this mayhem, and this absolute craziness which is reigning in the world right now, and particularly against our brothers and sisters in Gaza. From that brings my bit to an end. We'll play out with the dua for our brothers in Gaza. Until tomorrow, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allahumma innaka tara ma